Welcome to Hey Chaplain. My name is Jared Altick, and I'm a chaplain with the police department. The Hey Chaplain podcast is about talking to police officers who say, "Hey Chaplain, I've got a story to tell and some hard-earned wisdom to share." The guests on Hey Chaplain come from across the world, from the LAPD to Scotland Yard, from Thailand to Texas, and sometimes from my hometown of Kansas City. They are sharing their wisdom with you so that you don't have to learn everything the hard way. And as a patrol chaplain, I think that you deserve something positive and encouraging. Hey Chaplain is a free resource for everyone because of those supporters who are quietly helping behind the scenes. If you want to help this show reach more cops, chaplains, and other first responders around the world, please follow the link in the episode description to support the show. All right, listen to this. Identical twins, but one's a firefighter and the other one is a cop, and both have 30-year careers in the same city. That's not a bad premise for a TV show, but it's also the background of the two guests we have on today's podcast. Returning guest and friend of the show, retired detective Stuart Littlefield, has brought his brother, retired firefighter Steve Littlefield, to talk about their paths in fire and policing. These two identical twins have a lot to say about the supposed rivalry between the two services and what it's like to know that your brother is in danger just down the street. Here are brothers Stuart and Steve Littlefield. Hello, Steve and Stuart. How are you guys today?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Hi, Jared. How are you?
It's good to have you back, Stuart. You've brought a guest with you.
I did. I brought my twin retired firefighter brother to visit with us today.
That's awesome. So Steve, you were a firefighter first. Is that correct?
Yeah.
How did you get into the fire service?
Funny story. I got in the fire service when I was 21 years old. I was working for a beer company, working in a warehouse, and I was driving a beer truck. 21-year-old kid, that's kind of what I wanted to do back in the 80s. And a few years went by, and the job was getting tougher. I was working 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I knew that when I'm 50 years old, this is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
And just by chance, our mother worked for the unified government of KCK, and she was there she started in 1954, so she'd been there quite a while. And this was at the time that if you wanted a city job or a government job, you kind of needed to know somebody to get in. You had to pass the test.
Sure.
But you needed to know somebody. And she told us, she goes, I'm thinking about retiring. If you guys want a city job, you need to let me know. And I thought about it. I thought, you know what? I didn't want the police department route. I'm going to give the fire service a shot. And
did you have any background? Did you have any family that had done fire before?
Not at all.
Really? Okay. Yeah. What did it require when you came on? What kind of training or education did it require?
When I came on, you'd be 21. No felonies, of course. And that was kind of it. You didn't even have to be an MT when I came on.
Everything else was on the job.
So I went from driving a beer truck to working on a fire truck.
How long was your fire career?
Right at 33 years.
How long before you brought your brother in to being a first responder?
I think he was working another job, and I think he was kind of seeing the money to be made, and the hours were good hours.
So why didn't he follow you into fire?
That I'm not sure.
Okay, Stuart, tell
because
us.
I wanted to be a hero.
You wanted to be a hero nobody would like, and so you became a cop, right?
For me, I was working a warehouse job. I really enjoyed it, but once again, it wasn't something that I knew I wanted to do when I was 50 years old. And like he said, our mother was the city court administrator, and we'd grown up with cops. We had cops come by our house and visit. I would go by my mom's office. There were always cops around, and there were 3 cops that were married into our family. And so I was very comfortable with law enforcement. And then I had 3 really, really, really good friends who were policemen in the early 90s.
Okay.
And I looked up to these guys and they said, man, it's a really good job. You really need to come. And I liked those guys so much and I respected them so much that they kind of drugged me down the law enforcement path.
So how far behind were you?
I came on in 94. When did you come on?
I came on in April of 1990.
Okay, so you were 4 years behind. Yeah. So you've told me a story before about making people give a second look when you were on the street and they weren't sure who they were seeing. Because you guys are twins. You're identical twins?
Yes, we are.
Okay, all right.
So I didn't know this. There was a running joke on the fire department. I would show up on a fire scene to block the street or help them out. And apparently the rookies would see me and said, hey, what's Littlefield doing here? And the old heads would say, well, he's a cop and a fireman. And I didn't know that for years. I found out years and years later that these new guys couldn't tell us apart and assumed that he was not only a firefighter, but a cop on his days off.
They actually thought we were double dipping.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. So which one of you are older?
5 minutes.
Okay, Stuart, the police officer, is 5 minutes older than Steve, the firefighter.
Best 5 minutes of my life.
Okay, but you came into service earlier. What was it like to have someone that close to you be on the other side of this rivalry between police and fire?
At first it really wasn't. I didn't think much about it because until I started seeing him on calls. Because my first 4 years, I never saw him. And then when he came in, I started seeing him on calls and they're like, hey, isn't that your brother over there? I'm like, yeah, like we're twins, it was kind of a rivalry thing, but.
Yeah. How much do you think, Steve, how much do you think there was a rivalry in Kansas City between police and fire? Were they competitive? Were they friendly? What was your perception of it?
Oh, it was friendly. Oh, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't call it a rivalry. We jack with people quite a bit.
Well, I know you guys tease each other.
Well, I mean, I can give you one specific that I'd been on. He wasn't on the job yet. I'd been on about 2 or 3 years, and I worked up off Quindera Boulevard. And we ran a call one time, medical call, down the street from the firehouse. And, of course, when we go on to the scene, we pull up in the rig, and there's an ambulance with us. And when we get out, we don't shut the fire truck off. The fire truck is sitting there running. Mm-hmm. Of course, PD showed up because there was a domestic violence call. And so we took the patient out, loaded the patient up, and we went back inside to get some gear. And we come back out, and the fire truck's gone.
Oh, no.
So the ambulance has already left, and we're standing there. There was only 3 of us then. We're standing there with our bag, and we're looking around going, what the hell is going on here? Well, we look down the block, and there's 2 cop cars sitting there. And my captain and the driver knew what had happened, and so they called out the one officer by name, kind of cussed him, and we could hear the fire truck circling the block with the siren on. And they even drove by us twice. And of course, we tried to get in the cop car, and they're locked.
Yeah. So the police had taken the open fire truck.
They took the fire truck for a joyride. And we're just standing there. We couldn't do nothing about it.
Now, for people who have never been to Kansas City, have no idea of really what we're talking about, KCK has a section that's pretty like urban core, part of the larger Kansas City Metro. We're right across the river from Kansas City, Missouri, the main part of Kansas City people picture when they hear Kansas City. But then we have a suburban area and even a rural area. Where was most of your career in fire service?
Oh, urban.
Urban? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you're running calls down in
the inner city.
Yeah, inner city. Okay. And Stuart, as a police officer, where was most of your career?
Downtown. At the time, we had Central Patrol, West Patrol, and South Patrol. Central Patrol is now called East Patrol, but that was my entire career. That was, in my opinion, if you want to be a cop or you want to be a fireman, you want to work downtown.
Where it's busy.
Absolutely.
Things are happening.
Yeah, it was exciting down there. So I spent my first 4 years downtown midnights on the midnight shift, which is where I encountered Steve a handful of times.
And then later in your career, detective, homicide detective, cold case detective, you did all that later in your career. And also a lot of that would have been centered in that part of town.
It was. I was a 13-year patrolman. I did 4 years on the streets, and then I got selected to be on the TAC team. And then I did that until 2007 before I took the detective's promotion.
And at that time on the fire service, we had firefighters, we had drivers, and we had captains. And then you went up into command staff and all that. I took a few driver's tests, and you had to, it was only if there was an opening who got promoted.
Okay.
And I studied, and I was middle of the road to upper on the list. And me and a friend of mine that I worked with, we were always right together because we studied together.
Yeah.
And I never really studied hard enough to get promoted because my thinking was I had a great group of guys because we work with the same guys most of the time back. We didn't move around a lot. And I'm like, these guys are great. Why do I want to go anywhere? For a little bit of money, getting promoted wasn't a big deal to me.
Yeah.
And I spent 13 years with the exact same 5 guys.
Okay. Now, in Kansas City, the way our firehouses are numbered, they're a number, and if it's firehouse 5 or whatever, then it's called 5s.
Yes.
If it's 6, it's 6s. Okay. Where were you?
I was at 5s.
You were at 5s. Okay.
Worked on 5 Swamper for 19 years.
Did either of you, or have either of you, ever second guessed your choice? Steve, did you ever think, man, I should have gone the police route? Or Stuart, did you ever think you should have gone the fire route?
No, I never did.
Okay. You were always fire, and that was the right pick.
And it was,
Stuart?
So in 1998, they offered firefighter jobs to all city employees. I don't know what the reasoning was. Maybe they just wanted to raise their numbers. I didn't know. But so I had considered becoming a firefighter and transferring over. And I went so far as to fill an application out. That is also the exact time that I was applying to the SCORE unit, which is a tactical team. And
so SWAT team or firefighter?
Yes. And I don't know if the word got out. I didn't keep it a secret, but I didn't broadcast that I was thinking about applying. But one of the commanders called me right after we had finished the testing process. And he said, I want to let you know you're our guy. We're going to pick you. And so I thought, man, I want to be a fireman, but I want to kick indoors. And so I stayed on the department, and I spent 9 years on the SWAT team. And really, looking back, I did the right thing. I had a wonderful career. I enjoyed almost every minute of it, with a few tragedies sprinkled in there. But I would have been happy on the fire department, but man, I can't imagine not doing 31 years as a cop. It meant so much to me.
Yeah. Steve, to the best of your knowledge, what is the most dangerous thing your brother has done as a police officer?
Probably the bomb squad.
Okay.
Just in my view.
Okay. Like generally dangerous or a specific incident?
Generally dangerous because a lot of the bomb calls, it depended on where they were at. A lot of them we didn't have much in the inner city as far as bomb stuff.
Okay.
Most of that was midtown or south.
Occasionally you see a unexploded ordnance or something like that they'd have to go deal with.
Yeah.
But okay. But generally dangerous. Do you know of a specific incident that you would consider like, boy, I'm glad my brother is okay after being at a particular scene or anything like that?
We had a call one time, a barricaded suspect. They had chased him. He was a homicide suspect. They had chased him from KCMO. And of course, as everybody knows, you come to KCK, you're probably not going to leave. I mean, they're just, PD's pretty good over here about stuff not getting away. You know, if you come here, chances are you ain't leaving, at least not in a good way. And they tracked him to a house off of 11th and Richmond. And they were going in the house, and I remember he was there, and they had to make entry into the house. And so we got called for another standby because we run a lot of them with him, when they ever had a barricaded suspect. And of course, we knew all the officers because we worked downtown with them,
Mm-hmm.
And they let us actually get in the van where they were recording all the radio traffic, and we were able to listen to everything that's going on. And I'm thinking, hey, I'm kind of thinking, where's he at and what's going on?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Because we're just in the other end of it.
That almost is worse, not knowing.
Yeah, because we're 3 blocks down the road.
Yeah.
At a staging area.
I'm going to let you audit your brother, Stuart. What was the most dangerous thing you've ever been in? Well, first of all, generally speaking, so I guess we have 2 categories. Generally speaking, was bomb squad the most dangerous generally?
No, because we took so many precautions.
Okay.
But
it sure sounds dangerous.
Of course it does, but we have robots and we would send those. The bomb squad has potential to be dangerous,
Yeah.
if you're over in Afghanistan, but It was probably one of the safer things I did.
Okay. Okay. But what about specific incidents? Did you have like that story of the barricade or others that, what was specifically the most danger you were in as a police officer?
Random shots fired. I can tell you that more than 3 or 4 occasions, people shot at me from a distance. Mm-hmm. I remember my very, very first 4th of July as a rookie. And if you know anything about the 4th of July, you go call to call to call to call to call. I was working midnights. By probably 3 a.m, we had handled all the major calls, and now we're just going with the fireworks calls. And I got called up to the north end, north of Quindaro, to an old apartment complex that's way down in a hole. And this woman found a bicycle in her yard, and she wanted the police to recover it.
Okay.
So rookie patrolman Littlefield is doing a property report on this bicycle. 2 years later, veteran Stuart Littlefield would have said, "Lady, leave the bike. It'll be gone in the morning." But I didn't know any better. So I have my clipboard out. I'm doing a property report. And off in the distance, I heard pop, pop, pop. And if you're downtown and you hear that, you play is it fireworks or is it gunfire game? And you go by the cadence. And about the time I realized that the cadence were gunshots, I heard right over my head within inches. And so I think 3 shots went off and 3 zips went over my head. And I screamed at her, "Get in your house." And I jumped in my car and drove away. And I got to the end of the street and I realized I'd left my clipboard. Oh. And it was one of those big aluminum clipboards with all my reports in it. I think I paid $20 for it. So I went up to this fire station. I called for help. I told them, "Hey, somebody shot at me, but I got to get my clipboard." The entire shift showed up and we rolled back down the street like the Sugarland Express with our lights on, and cars fanned out, and I jumped out and I got my clipboard and I drove away.
Awesome. Now let me do the reverse. To the best of your knowledge, Stuart, what was the most dangerous circumstance that your brother Steve was in?
I can't tell you what year this was. My mom got a call in the middle of the night that he had fallen through a roof. And so apparently he'd been up on the roof of a house and the roof collapsed and hit the main floor and went all the way to the basement. So we went to the hospital, KU Medical Center, and I remember firemen lining the hallway. And he turned out he was okay. I love my brother. We don't have that twin bond. We know what's going on. But he told me that story later, and he can tell you the story himself. But his eyes were as big around as they could get, and he told me, he said, "I thought I was dead."
Okay. What happened, Steve?
I was out of the academy about 2 months, 1 to 2 months out of the academy, brand new on the job. And I'd first start off, when you first come on the fire department, they move you around the city, give a different feel for what's going on, because the north is different than the south.
Sure.
Midtown's different. West is different. Sure. It's all different. So
suburban, rural.
Yes, everywhere. So
everything.
I was working out of number 9's fire station, 11th and Central, and we got a call for a house fire. And right down 2 blocks down the street off South Bethany. No, I take it back. I was stationed there, but I was detailed out to Armourdale. So I'm down at 3rd and Kansas in Armourdale, and we got a call. So we were the second rig up there. But this house is rolling. It was an arson fire. And, of course, getting it knocked down. Of course, I'm brand new. I'm staying with my captain, and I'm like a duck following him around. And we got it knocked down outside, but it was burned up into the attic. So we got up on the roof to help ventilate the structure. So we're up there and my captain and a driver from another rig and me were up there. And my captain had told me to go down and take a break. We'd been up there. We'd been at the scene for probably 35, 40 minutes by now. So I climbed down and went down to my rig to swap my air bottle back out, and our operations chief come and saw, and he knew I was new. He ripped my butt for not being up there with my captain. So I tried to tell him I came down to relax and take a break, and he goes, "I don't care, get back up there." So I put a new air bottle in, and I went back up the ladder on the roof, and I no sooner got back up on the roof, and I went to walk around the chimney where the other 2 guys were, and that's where it collapsed.
Is there any part of that where if you had been more experienced or followed a different procedure, it would have happened differently, or was it truly just a random?
Just random.
Okay.
We had no idea how much underneath it had burned about where we were at, and we didn't realize how bad the chimney was leaning, and then the chimney collapsed, and that's what created the hole in me and the driver at the time from another rig, Tony Mott's. That's when we rolled it down to the.
You rolled that all the way to the basement. Yep. Yeah. Wow.
But the crazy thing is, and of course I went down, and then he came down on top of me, kinda, and I'm bent over, and of course the fire was about 90% out. It was just a lot of smoke and a lot of heat.
Yeah.
But he landed on top of me, and then we got covered with a lot of the debris.
Like bricks and...
everything. Yeah. And when they say scared to death, I literally was scared to death. I thought I was done. And but the crazy thing is, it got super quiet. I heard no more noise. And then 10 seconds later, all I heard was a lot of yelling and chainsaws and moving stuff to get us out. And it seemed like it took about 5 to 10 minutes, but it was probably 2 or 3 minutes before they got to us.
Yeah.
Got to us pretty quick. And
it's a long time to be pinned under a house. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we weren't really under it, but just did all the stuff that was on us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was all bent over, and I'm brand new. And
is that your most dangerous circumstance, or were there others your brother doesn't know about?
I had another one where I jacked my knee up, where I just fell through I thought I was backing into at a house fire. I thought I was backing into a bedroom, and it was an open door going down the basement, and I fell through a set of stairs again.
Yeah.
It was smoky and that, but that was just, I buckled my knee and stuff, but.
Yeah. Okay.
I was able to get myself out of that one.
Yeah. What about your family? So they've got a firefighter and a cop, and increasingly you've had more family involved in being first responders. But how do you think, like your mother, bless her heart, how did she do having one son's a firefighter, another one becoming a police officer? Did you tell her stuff, or did you just kind of
We didn't talk about stuff. We didn't talk about stuff.
No.
If it made the news, we probably talked about it because she'd bring it up.
Right.
And we were running a lot of stuff that made the news, but besides,
as far as she knew, you guys were both back doing reports and everything's fine.
We went back and forth, ran calls, and that was it.
Yeah, yeah.
And we have a little brother that was a former Secret Service agent. So, and he's living up in Seattle now. He's with the Coast Guard. But so we've always been around law enforcement. And my mom didn't get too concerned. I think she grew up with cops. We've been around them our whole lives. So, but there's just certain things you don't talk to your mom about.
What about the rest of your family?
I know they're proud of us. They don't, this is the great thing about being in a family of first responders is you don't get grilled like you do with when I'm with people that aren't cops, they ask the normal cop questions. You ever shoot anybody? You ever been shot? It gets old, and we get the jokes. The ribbing, which is all good natured, and for years, the fire department, they were either the basement savers or the Kansas City Kansas pool department. We'll show up and turn your house into a swimming pool.
Yep.
And so that was really all that got from our family is just joking around, but they're proud of us and they talk about us a lot, and I know that.
Us that are in the being first responders, police or fire, we talk amongst ourselves. But as far as the family members, we really didn't talk about the calls and stuff we did.
Sure.
If they ask about something, we give them a skim over it, But,
you're familiar with Guns and Hoses?
Yes.
Okay. Police members.
But people aren't necessarily. So explain what's Guns and Hoses.
So Guns and Hoses is a charity event. It's a boxing match between cops and firemen. And it's a big deal. People train for weeks. The firemen wanted me to fight my brother. And number one, he's a little bigger than me. And I'm not going to fight my brother. That's not happening. And I'm way too pretty to get in a boxing ring. But they really, really pushed us. And it went on for a couple of years. Like, you gonna fight your brother in Guns and Hoses? Absolutely not.
But you do go to the fireman's ball. I got asked one time to give a prayer at the fireman's ball, and I ran into a police officer.
My wife is also a firefighter, as is my son, and she has been on the ball committee forever, and she loves to get dressed up, and I go, and I like these guys. They know me. I've been around forever, and I have a great time. And there's the rivalry. That's where we featured stuff. But, and I tell them, hey, guys, stand back here. I'm going to go to the bar, and I'm going to secure the scene for you. I keep all the second responders back. But we go to the fireman's ball every year. We just went 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome.
And then there's the joke that you know why firemen have bigger balls. More people go.
I do have a quick story about what they do. My own personal, I was a detective. This wasn't that long ago, less than 10 years ago. I woke up in the morning and my chest felt funny and I could feel my heart racing. And, heart disease runs in our family, is rampant. And so I've always taken good care of myself and I've always been an avid runner. But I woke up and I felt funny that day and I went to work and I still felt funny. I just my heart didn't feel like it was beating right. And I waited till about 10 in the morning. I came on at 8. And so police headquarters is at 7th and State Avenue. Fire headquarters is just 2 blocks away on 6th Street. And so I went down to fire headquarters and the crew is upstairs. So I went upstairs and, and they, well, what are you doing here? And they were teasing me. I said, man, my heart feels kind of funny. And they started joking around. And I said, man, I'm serious. And a switch flipped. And I watched their faces go from teasing me to all business in a microsecond. And one guy set me down and one guy got a machine out and they got my shirt off and they hooked. It was amazing to see them go from one condition to more serious so quickly. Yeah. And they put a 12 lead on me, which I learned is a heart thing. And they ran my numbers and they said, hey, you're fine. And as soon as they said I was fine, my heart felt great. It went, whatever I felt inside went away. Yeah. And they didn't tease me and they thanked me for coming in. And one of them actually said, we make house calls. And it was very clear. I'm not calling the fire department to the detective bureau to have you tell me I'm fine. But that was one of the most, as simple as that sounds, was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had interacting with firefighters.
But as far as like stories of like with him, the experience with that, I don't really have one.
Okay.
I've run a ton of calls with them. And they knew. I can tell you a call. So it was cold out. Would have been mid to late 90s again. Pretty common theme. Domestic violence call, and there were 2 female officers, and the female was probably 3 times the size of the guy. Guy's in the house. He got his butt kicked. So they had the female outside getting ready to arrest her, take her into custody, and they're getting ready to put handcuffs on her. Well, this gal's she's at least 350. Okay. She's big. And she's probably 6 foot tall. She's a big gal. And one officer has her by the one hand trying to get it behind the back. The other officer has her other hand. Well, they got one handcuff on her, and she's whipping the other officer. They can't control this gal. And, of course, we rolled up for a medical call, and we see this going on. So me and my buddy Billy, we jumped off, and we just went at him, and we just bum rushed him, and we just bulldogged her and took her to the ground. Yeah. And, of course, we're on her back. We got her leg bent up, twisting her foot, and she's screaming. And those guys are trying to get her handcuffed. They finally got her handcuffed. And what we didn't realize is that when we took her down, we also took one of the officers down, and she's face down in the snow. So we're like, I apologize for that. They go, no, we really appreciate
you roll her over, and there's an officer underneath.
Yes. Yeah. But they did appreciate what we did for them. So
that's awesome. That's great. I want to thank both of you guys for coming in. I want to thank both of you for serving our city. You both contributed a lot, and I appreciate what you sacrificed.
Thank you, Jared. That means a lot.
I want to thank Steve and Stuart for coming on the show. And this isn't the last that you'll hear from them. In fact, part of the reason I brought them on the show is because I knew they had a couple really good war stories. And some of those were lengthy enough that I thought, you know what, that needs to go in a separate episode. So in part 2, you're going to hear more from Steve and Stuart Littlefield, twin first responders, cop and firefighter, on the next episode of Hey, Chaplain.
I think he had a gas mask. We looked at it later. I don't recall.
He did. He had a gas mask. He was a Vietnam vet.
Okay.
And so gas didn't work. So the next step is to introduce smoke. And if you understand how smoke works, so that you would throw the canister in, and as the canister burns and the smoke begins to fill the house, it pushes the oxygen out. And so you have a choice. You can come out or you can stay in and suffocate. So we introduced smoke into the house from the back to the front. It was my partner and I. He is throwing the canister through the window, and I'm providing lethal cover. And so we kind of made a clockwise move around the house. And when we got to the very front window, anytime you threw smoke in, the canister would begin to burn. You'd see the curtains catch fire and glow. And then pretty soon the smoke would push out the oxygen and the fire would die. So we got all the way back around to the front of the house, and he put a canister through the window, and the curtains began to burn like they always did. And then I don't know what was there, but something exploded, boom, and the front door slammed shut and then slammed back open. And that fed oxygen into the house, and that house went up like a Roman candle.
If only we had a firefighter here to explain that to us. The views expressed here are the personal views of the hosts and our guests and do not necessarily represent the views of any law enforcement or fire agency or its components. If you like this episode, please share it with a cop or someone who loves a cop. Thank you for listening to Hey Chaplain. And as always, let's pray for peace in our cities.